Well, hello, friend. This is the RR Show. I am Vince, and we've got a big stack of stories here from the entitled categories. I'm taking a look at my notes. The first one we're going to start with is this, posted by Sunflower971, posted on r/EntitledPeople. Neighbor helped herself to other people's stuff. Several years ago, I heard my sweet neighbor and another woman arguing on the sidewalk. I looked closer and noticed they were both pulling a plant pot in different directions and about to fight. No clue what was up, but knew my neighbor. If she was arguing, she was right. Me and my husband went over to intervene. My husband wanted to make peace. Me, I was gonna help my neighbor, no questions asked. Why the argument? The other woman was a new neighbor. Our nice neighbor noticed her plant pots were missing and were in the new neighbor's yard. Yeah. The new neighbor had stolen nice neighbor's plants, plant pots, and yard decor and decorated her yard with it. My nice neighbor had hand-painted several pots that were in her yard, thus they were easy to identify as hers. We all walked over to the new neighbor's yard to get our other neighbor's stuff back. When we got to the new neighbor's yard, we noticed several things looked both weird and very familiar. Oh yeah, and the new neighbor had called the cops on us, or at least someone did. Anyway, the new neighbor had planted patches of different types of grass all over the yard in a checkerboard pattern. As well, mismatched shrubs and flowers. I looked at our house a little closer. Yeah, we were missing grass patches from the side of the house and one of our shrubs. When the police arrived, the new neighbor was adamant the plants, pots, grass, shrubs, and yard decor were hers. She informed the cops she dug them up from other yards in the middle of the night and planted them. Yeah, she claimed finders keepers. Didn't quite work out. My nice neighbor insisted on pressing charges for petty theft and destruction of property. We just dug up our grass patches and replanted them. Some of them even survived it. Nosy neighbors kept walking by after the new neighbor was arrested. As we were digging things up, we explained why to them. Neighbors kept recognizing their stuff from her yard. One neighbor asked if we'd seen a picnic table, as his was missing. We hadn't thought to check the backyard. Yeah, picnic table and a yard full of her finders keepers haul. She moved pretty much right afterward, and we didn't miss her. Our next story comes from r/EntitledPeople. From user Ricky/X. Entitled couple wants to change the weather. So I work as a waitress at a 5-star hotel in Greece for the summer season, and I've heard tons of crazy demands over the years. This happened last season around July of 2023, and it's not actually my story. It happened at the reception desk and it got spread around. So in Greece, the last few years, the temperature in the summer can reach up to plus 40 Celsius. We get a lot of tourists from northern countries that both love this weather, but also it can be way too hot. The week of the incident happened to be windy and raining lightly sometimes. There was this couple who low-key complained about it. When I happened to have them at my section of the restaurant, I would greet them good morning, and they would always answer with yeah, cloudy one, or not so sunny though, and things like that. It was only a few days later that I heard from a receptionist that they went up to the front desk and complained about the weather. According to her words, it went kind of like this. Hello, how may I help you? We've been here for 3 days and there is no sun. Yes, the weather is a bit cloudy these days, but it should be around 35 Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit today and tomorrow. We came to Greece for the sun, so could you please do something about it? The lady was nice at first, unlike her husband, but that quickly got away when the receptionist looked confused about her request and offered them to use the indoor pools instead if they didn't like the weather. No, we came here for the sun, so fix it. Yeah, can't you turn it on or something? I'm sorry, but we can't control the weather. We paid to be in the sun, so if there's no sun, we want a refund. Yes, we want a refund and a room in the top floor to be closer to the sun when you fix it. The poor receptionist was so dumbfounded at the time, I bursted out laughing when she told us about their requests. I apologize, but we can't upgrade you to a suite at the moment as we are fully booked this week. Didn't you hear my wife? We want one of those rooms to be closer to the sun when you turn it on. The man pointed at the floor with the suites that had a private pool and were obviously more expensive. I'm sorry, but an upgrade to a deluxe suite is not possible, and neither is changing the weather at will. She tried to be polite as she could, but I don't think they got the hint. Good thing her colleague got their manager to handle the situation. The couple was still mad that no one would turn on the sun, as they said they stopped complaining when the manager offered them a free meal to one of our a la carte restaurants as a compensation. In my opinion, were they really that stupid, or did they just want free stuff? To be honest, many people complain just to get free upgrades, etc. So we can't always know if they're serious or not. So, confession time. I remember a few years ago, I was outside of a movie theater. It was dark and there was a crowd, and it was the premiere of Star Wars Episode 1, and yes, I was one of the guys dressed as Darth Vader. So going to the movies for me, it's a fun experience. I have a lot of great memories doing it. And you know what's also great? Saving money. That's where Regal Unlimited comes into play. It is a pretty sweet all-you-can-watch movie subscription pass that pays for itself in just 2 visits. You get any standard 2D movie anytime, no blackout dates or restrictions. And if you want a premium format like IMAX, you get it at a reduced cost. You also get concessions, the non-alcoholic kind, like popcorn, 10% off. So if you're thinking about 2 movies this month, join Regal Unlimited. Sign up now in the Regal app or go to regmovies.com. That's regmovies.com/unlimited. Use promo code RRShowReg. So regmovies.com, that's regmovies.com/unlimited, and use promo code RRShowReg. Darth Vader costume optional. Our next story on this episode of the RR Show is posted by user BoxTart41. Crazy stage mom, entitled mom, tries to force her daughter into our corporate training video. I was a part of a team shooting a short corporate training video. It was on visitor policies for front office workers of a regional healthcare operation. It showcased various scenarios involving visitors that might come up on the job and the do's and don'ts in each case. No one was chasing an Oscar here, but it was still quite a high budget and professional production, with one exception. The corporation had granted us access to a front office area at one of their locations to use as a set, but they hadn't thought to notify all the practitioners in the building that we'd be shooting. It was a weekend when they typically be closed for business, so I guess they just took for granted things would be shut down. But there are dozens of private offices of employees in these buildings, and a couple of people choose to work on the weekends. As a result, their patients and clients kept streaming through the lobby while we tried to do this. For the most part, it didn't actually matter. Those who even noticed us at all could see that we're filming, and at worst took a couple of pictures and left. Until the Karen and Karen Jr. breezed in. But we'll call them Wanda and Wanda Jr. because my mother's named Karen and she is a wonderful woman. And my ex-wife is named Wanda. And this is exactly what I could see her getting into. Anyways, we were shooting a scenario in which a third-party contractor approaches the desk attempting to gain entry. You know, like a delivery person, a maintenance worker. We were using a water guy. There is an elaborate procedure that's supposed to be demonstrated in the video. It takes several excruciating shots to get it correct. And we're finally approaching the finish line when... Are you making a movie? My daughter's an actress. She'd be great in any movie. Give her any line to read, any part, she'll nail it. What kind of movie is it? We had a production assistant who was assigned to play defense against anything like this when we realized the building was semi-open to the public. But things had been going so smooth for so long, he took his eye off the ball. A crew member pulled her to the side and patiently explained, "Sorry, ma'am, no movie, just a corporate thing. You can go that way to your appointment," trying to politely but clearly signal that she needed to move along. That went in one ear and immediately out the other. She grabbed Wanda Jr. and dragged her over, practically shrieking at this point, Oh, good. No, that's so good. Things like this prove dynamism. It'll be priceless for her reel. And you'd be lucky to have her. Trust me, any part, just name the part, she'll blow it out of the water. You should see her do Titanic. Actually, speaking of, but name any part, like she's ready. Wanda Jr. looked anything but ready. She looked exhausted, mortified, and a little nervous. I didn't know if she was scared by the confrontation or at the premise of being given a role. Not that it mattered. The content of these videos is dictated by the powers that be. We just can't go adding anything. A more senior crew member tried to reason with them at this point, realizing the whole ordeal was really beginning to hold us up. He emphasized to Wanda that this is a training video for business. That means it will only be ever seen by people who work here. And not even by every single one of them. Those who do see it, you know. There isn't even a credit, so please. He gestured broadly at our operation that had grounded to a halt, hoping the point had been made. Okay, so just pull her in as an extra or something. She doesn't even have to speak. You're all so sensitive, Wanda griped. You almost had to admire her dedication. At that point, she wasn't even advocating for herself. She was just haranguing us on behalf of her daughter, who was cowering in a corner a ways away, seemingly totally uninterested in any of this. A few of us got together and discussed our next steps. We decided to just continue shooting and hope for the best. We did, and you can guess what happened. Wanda dragged Wanda Jr. back over and tried to plop her down in the middle of the shot. We reset at a slightly different angle and rolled again. Wanda herself made a ton of noise and did everything possible to be disruptive. We got together in a small group again. We discussed waiting and coming back to finish another day, but we were already severely behind schedule for that day, so we'd likely need an extra day of filming if we went this route, which was not logistically feasible. We discussed calling the authorities. We did have a film permit, but that doesn't go so long a ways in keeping strangers out as you think it does, and it isn't necessarily enough to get even the police out at all. Finally, we didn't want to generate any negative buzz with the company. We film corporate-type videos often, and we're not keen on a reputation of being hostile to clients or creating hostile scenes within public-facing areas. Then, the production assistant had quite the idea. An upcoming scene was what to do when emergency services seek to enter the building. You know, like firemen, security, police, etc. And as such, we had a cop costume and an actor primed and ready to play a cop, all just laying around. We only had to cross our fingers that Wanda and Wanda Jr. did not notice the cop had a same-day side hustle as a water guy. So, it took a little bit. Wanda planted her feet the entire time, taking glamour shots of Junior in front of our modest camera equipment. Then, the cop arrived. We recast him as a security guard so no one would go to jail for impersonating some public official. He swaggered up to the front desk and declared, "Someone contacted security? We'll need access," which is actually also more or less his first line. A few of us were nervous he'd forgotten the mission and defaulted to his practice content. But no, the desk lady was unflappable. Everyone was on their game. "Thank you, sir. Was it an emergency or a non-emergency call?" Also essentially the desk lady's first line. Now we were all really holding our breath. One of the senior crew steps in, says, "Yes, hi, I called." He briefly explains that we're trying to film and what's gone on. Our officer nodded and told Wanda quite authoritatively, "All right, ma'am, move along, please." This section of the building is closed to the public, and there's absolutely no loitering. She continued taking her glamour shots. Photo and video is strictly prohibited. That's a HIPAA violation. I might need to report that, Wanda huffed and puffed, and she pouted, but she didn't know what to say. The best she could come up with was, "I had an appointment. I can be here if I want to." To which our officer replied, "No, ma'am. You can be in the office where you had your appointment, and if they've asked you to leave, then you have to go. The rest of the building is closed but for traffic to and from private offices." Think of it as this way. If I have an appointment in Dr. Smith's office, am I entitled to go into Dr. Jones's office just because it's in the same building? Or am I entitled to stay in Dr. Smith's office for the rest of my life just because I had an appointment there? He stared blankly at Wanda, who threw a stapler off the desk in her fury. "Oh no, there'll be none of that. Let's go before I have to escalate the matter," our officer warned, with certainly no plan to do what he'd do next. So we hold our breath, but she left. This was during the writers, actors, everyone strike, so she yelled as she left, "I'm gonna report you all to the unions, you scabs!" As though our corporate training video in Middle America was a union acting job. While it was frustrating to be off schedule, I mostly just feel bad for Wanda Jr. I hope she gets to spend plenty of time alone with Dad to even out the crazy. We really appreciate you being with us on today's show. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcast and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, follow or subscribe to the show if you haven't already. And if you also haven't done already, please leave us a very nice 5-star review. Thanks, Mom. Also, for more, you can visit rrshow.com. That's rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince. My producer, Kevin, thank you. We'll see you next time.